Hi, I'm Scott Lawrence. I'm an assistant professor at the University of Idaho, where I lead the Idaho Design Build studio. Idaho Design Build is a community outreach studio that's focused on immersive education, applied research, and construction education.
My name is Lorraine Tamara, and I'm part of the Idaho Design Build teaching team. When COVID hit, I was actually a student at the time in the spring of 2020, and I was working on my design build project. And it was just dead in the water.
We had really a struggle because all the projects that we had been looking at were gone. So in fall of 2020, myself and 6 students sat down and outlined different ways that we really could help the community in light of the new condition.
2 of our clients that came out of this were One World Cafe, and then the second client was the McDonald Elementary School outdoor classroom.
The 2 projects were really intended to address the need to move outdoors for a lot of activities that previously had been primarily indoors. McDonald Elementary is a school that has really nice grounds. There's a garden that's been established there.
They have a beautiful forest that kind of encircles the school, and grass and rolling hills, and it's really an idyllic place.
The McDonald Elementary School has been using an outdoor classroom program for a very long time to teach kids about things that happen outside. They have planting beds right there, they have various birdhouses in the trees, they have a greenhouse.
They had a space outside, but it was really dilapidated, and so several years back they tore it down, and they haven't had that space, and they needed it. We started looking at solutions that would allow us to create a sort of maximum shade covering with minimal material. We went to these V-shaped columns that would spread out further than the footprint of those footings so that we could have more space underneath.
And the V-shapes were to create as little contact points on the ground as possible because we didn't want to do strip footing, we didn't want to do anything that was too invasive. And also leaving it nice and open so they can get those views to the forest so that the teachers can view the students and vice versa. And so creating those V's just really opened it up.
Hi, my name is Brett Carter. I was part of the teaching team for the Design Build project at the University of Idaho. I think we landed on the arches as shapes. It was a really kind of an elegant way to cap off what was kind of going to be a very intense and rigorous structure.
We wanted something that was playful and fun, something the kids could look up at and wonder and engage with. And I think that we really struck the balance between something that was serving the purpose, but something that's beautiful and engaging.
One of the big problems with this project was we were doing it in a time where lumber was incredibly expensive. We also had scarcity issues. We just couldn't get the initial sizes that we were trying to make this project out of. It was originally intended to be 4x4s, and we literally couldn't get those 4x4s. One of the ways that we were able to meet the budget on this project was by using discarded lumber. It was lumber that came from the butt end of utility poles. When they make utility poles, they cut off the first 6 or 7 feet of the log that's initially milled. Most of that wood is too short to be milled any other way, but we were able to cut that down into boards that we used. We also used wood that was left over from the Sidewalk Cafe project, where you had offcuts that were 11 inches long. One of the things that we discussed with the person who ran the salvage yard was that the logs that were less than 4 feet were just too small even to go through their mill.
We originally got the stumps and we made a hexagon stencil. And so we marked out the hexagon on the stumps, then basically took a skill saw and chopped around it. And then we took a chisel and a hammer, and then we hit it down until the sides broke off, and then we sanded it until it was really soft.
It was a relatively simple idea that took a while to come together, but it really created these interesting, small, versatile seats, and the way we've connected them makes them harder to just pick up, so they're not just going everywhere, but still easily moved enough if you know what you're doing.
Really just took the scrap of the scrap lumber and turned it into usable seating for the classroom.
And that's another really big part of what we do here at the University of Idaho Design Build is we try and take whatever materials we use and recycle them into the project as much as possible.
The students in Idaho Design Build go through a number of processes that sometimes can be really difficult.
There was so many things that we did that we've never done before. We explored the idea of creating an entire structured glulam, which didn't quite happen. We explored bending it, which also didn't quite happen, but it was such a cool experience to work with cedar in all these different ways and to come together with the way we did it.
That's really how, that applied research of design build works. It's not necessarily even what's in the final project. It's in the testing. It's the application, doing the research, and discovering what these tolerances are and what these abilities and capacities of these materials are. We went through a lot of back and forth with the engineer, and each time a new iteration would come out, the students then would immediately start testing that and see how we could create construction processes that would minimize our on-site time. The entire design was created as a series of prefabricated components that could be carried around on site by one or two people.
It was a tremendous help in the process, and it helps control the quality in a lot of ways.
There were a number of processes that you were going to repeat almost exactly the same way 50 times. We were really doing almost an assembly line of construction. That relies on us having really clear details and really clear instructions.
I think it's 156 arch pieces that we needed to fabricate. We started the day at 0 pieces. By the time 5 o'clock rolled around, we got them all assembled. At that moment, it was like, oh, we have our capstone piece. Now we just gotta get out there and get it assembled.
We were working with the engineers and they were sending us drawings, and then we made templates to put those screws exactly where the engineers specified. And then we did that all here at the university and brought those trusses back. And so almost every element of that project was prefabricated.
Everything coming together had to be prefabricated on the University of Idaho campus, loaded up into the back of a truck, driven across town to the elementary school, and then we kind of laid it out and started putting different members together and then finally lifting the structure.
The primary structure of trusses and columns was up in 2 to 3 days, and then we got all the catenary arch barrel vaults in place in about a day, and then it was just adding the brise-soleil cladding to the trusses.
Go.
The bottom one of that one.
This is something we've been working on for weeks, and it's finally done, and it's creating this amazing project. And I'm really glad that I had the classmates that I did, and that we were able to share this whole experience together.
At the start of the semester, I made the decision to take on both of these projects, and doing 2 design build projects with the same group of students at the same time was terrifying. I only made the decision to do it, I think, because there was this clear and immediate community need. Moscow's a small town, and when you start a project, you hope that it'll have a certain impact, and this project's been really rewarding. And we hear things like, oh, there's this one class that uses that every single day. They're out there reading, they're out there doing science, they're doing things that I never thought would be for an outdoor classroom. It's just where they hold class. And the idea that it's not just a structure on the grounds of the school, but that it's a integrated part of the everyday operation of that school is so far beyond the impact that I thought that this project would have.